Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and the Fool.
We were just discussing if Anomander could block the killing curse, and you were saying that Anomander from Malazan Book of the Fallen and Killing Curse from Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
And you were saying that the killing curse isn't just a simple thing, and then I brought up there's only about 3 characters in Harry Potter that can actually cast the killing curse regularly, and that's Barty Crouch Jr., who is one of the most powerful Death Eaters. Mm-hmm. There's Dolotov, who's like the most powerful Death Eater in terms of like raw offensive capabilities, and then there's Voldemort, who's basically the greatest rational wizard alive.
In the Siege of Hogwarts, you don't see all the Death Eaters shooting green beams in the movie.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's like, oh, all of them should just all be like spamming avada kedavra.
Which is what Dolotov does, but no one else does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw a post which is, you have all these spells, like you can cause explosions, you can like make things levitate, you can fling people through walls, there's so many different spells, you can cut people up, and it's like, oh, but the worst curse of all is avada kedavra. And the reason why it's the worst curse of all is you have to want to kill someone.
Yeah.
So you
have to want to murder them. Like, you have to want them to die from murder. Like, you have to want to do this wrong act to the person.
Yeah, so it has a pretty big requirement to cast. That's why it's unforgivable. Like, that's, I think the case with most spells is you have to want them to work.
Yeah, and so Barty Crouch Jr., he is...
a psychopath?
He's a fanatic. Like he's a massive fanatic. Yeah. He's like a giant Voldemort fanboy.
Yeah.
Dolotov is like a berserker, basically. Mm-hmm. So he's just, everything he sees red, he's ready to go. And then Voldemort just doesn't care.
Yeah,
like,
he's the psychopath.
Yeah, Voldemort's just like, whatever, I'll kill you. It's effective, why not, right? Like,
yeah.
So the way people think is, funnily enough, like the way when people discuss, why don't they just use the killing curse or teleport and killing curse or whatever, they're thinking like Voldemort. I think we've talked about this before.
Yes, we definitely have.
But it's a pretty rare curse to actually use. So I guess that does give it a bit more prestige in terms of could Anomander block it or not.
Yeah.
And I think it's strange because Malazan, I think everyone is moving like in soup underwater, the way things are described, because it's very weird how someone like Anomander and someone like Decembre, what's his... Decimolter. They're so unbelievably fast, but they move like mortals in other scenes. Like, the way they're written, you could shoot like Decimolter with a gun, but then when he gets into a fight with Anomander, they're moving so fast that they should be able to step aside out of a bullet's path.
If Ice is writing it, then a gun being shot at Decimolter, he'd catch the bullet out of the air with his like fingers. He could, like, the sword, he could feel their heartbeat or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Every time he hit them, he could feel the heartbeat through the blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Decimolter's being written by Ice, then he's going, like, you shoot a bunch of bullets at him, and he just opens his mouth, and then he spits out, like, chewed up piece of lead.
Well, except he's a master with a sword, not fighting in general.
I know, but it's just...
But, like, Anomander, in theory, should be able to dodge any killing curse Voldemort shoots at him. Like, he should just be able to step aside every time.
Here's the thing. I don't think you can dodge the killing curse.
Harry does. He in book 4 he jumps behind like a tombstone, and as Voldemort's shooting at him, and he actually I think it was I think it was Voldemort attacking him. I don't think it was the other one, Wormtail. Yeah.
If Harry's dodging, I think that's allowed if it's coming from Voldemort.
Because of their link.
Yeah.
But Dolotov also misses when he's fighting the Dumbledore's army.
Yeah.
He doesn't hit a single shot against Dumbledore's army because they all took the luck potion. And so there are ways to, like, you have to aim it, basically.
Okay, yeah, you do have to aim. But I guess another big problem with the killing curse is the...
And Flitwick defeats Dolotov in the end, who's like using it like crazy. So
the book battle of Voldemort versus Dumbledore.
Yeah. As
described, one of the interesting things is Voldemort doesn't try the killing curse every single time. He's using other spells because it is shown that Dumbledore can block them.
Yeah.
However, Dumbledore blocks them by animating objects or
he's moving stuff in this path.
Sending a phoenix to tank one of the shots.
Yeah, that was a little strange. I think he was trying to defend Harry at the same time, so I guess he's like a little divided. But
Well, he is also some other people have stated that he's worried that Voldemort was going to mind control Harry and backstab him.
Yeah.
He also had to deal with Bellatrix at the same time.
Yeah, so he's handling a lot at once, I guess. But it's
and he's also looking out for Aurors to come because they're going to arrest him.
Yeah, I guess he's trying to keep his options open.
Yeah.
But like Fox is like you get one shot with Fox. You think you'd use him for something else, but I guess he probably calculated it. He was thinking it through probably. But or in the moment, you're not thinking straight. You're just like, okay, I need to, and it's not like he's like mind controlling Fox either. No. Fox might have just tanked the hit, and Dumbledore's like, oh great.
I believe at that point he'd already had the withered hand.
No, that's book 6.
No. Okay.
Yeah, not yet.
So he wasn't weakened yet.
No. Well, I don't think the hand really weakened him. I think it was just killing him. Although it's hard to say because he was probably putting up a strong face for Harry. So it's But he's in book 6, even after his hand gets all withered, there's the scene where they have to swim. It was like a good distance. I can't remember, but it was like a pretty far distance. And Dumbledore just chucks off his robes and jumps into the water and starts like he's like 115 or whatever with his withered hand.
And then he drinks a bunch of poison.
Yeah. And
still manages the fire spell against the undead.
Yeah. So he's a tough old guy. He's a tough old guy.
Well, yeah, it's the problem with the avada kedavra is like the people who fight it have extraordinary circumstances to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Although that being said, James Potter did fight Voldemort 3 times.
Yeah. Yes.
And he was probably avada kedavra then.
Yeah. So you can, or maybe, well, no. It is weird, actually. Like, I fell down the stairs recently. I dislocated my arm, so I'm in a bit of pain, so if I record. So it's a tradition. I think more of our episodes have been recorded with me in pain than not, so it's good to be back in the saddle.
Yeah, I'm in pain as well.
So, the, what was I saying? When I fell down the stairs, now I'm a little freaked out walking down the stairs because I dislocated my arm. Voldemort died when he cast Avada Kedavra on a baby that had no protection. Like, I'm amazed he's still using that spell, actually. Mm-hmm. Like, you think he'd be a little scared from then on, because he got reflected at him. And that is a good point, though. Actually, Harry and Voldemort have both survived Avada Kedavra. Technically, Voldemort through Horcruxes and Harry through unusually powerful magic. Yeah. So,
well, actually, I wonder about the unusually powerful magic, right? How the Avada Kedavra bounced back. Yeah. I wonder if that magic's actually been done a ton of times. It's just there's not many, like, wizards have a much smaller population than humans. Yeah. And so there's just not many wizards through the ages who have been so, like, spell happy with the Avada Kedavra. And so they just haven't noticed the killing curse bouncing back. Yeah. And it's like minor protections. And maybe the more powerful the spell, the nastier the bounce back of the love protection.
Yeah, well, because they said it's like unblockable, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not necessarily actually unblockable. It's just the blocking spell doesn't work, right? Like,
Protego.
Yeah, Protego doesn't work. So it could be that there's more powerful, like...
Also, actually, I feel like the movies do a kind of... You might correct me, but Expelliarmus is shown in the movies as a red bolt going out and hitting someone's wand and flying out of their hands. I feel like it's in Expelliarmus you just point at someone and they're disarmed.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think...
Because Avada Kedavra definitely is a green bolt that has to travel, because it's described as a flash of green. And so, if you can get Expelliarmus off faster than a lot of spells, you can just take out someone's wand.
There is, like, in the movies as well, there's a lot of, like, force behind Expelliarmus. Like, you see people go flying and whatnot. And the time that would happen would be in book 2, but I don't actually remember what happens in the duel between Snape and Lockhart. But one thing that happens a lot is when Harry disarms someone, he catches their wand. Yeah. Which is kind of weird. Because that means the wand's flying towards him. Now, they do say, like, Harry catching the wand isn't like the spell is giving him a perfect trajectory. Harry has amazing reflexes, right?
Yeah, so he's a sports jock who's unusually good at
catching things.
Well, he's also unusually good at probably one of the better dueling spells.
Yeah, because it's like you disarm them and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. There's very few wizards who can do wandless magic. Yeah. And I'm going to say that the African wizards not needing wands is stupid.
Yeah, that's like later lore, right? That's not the original books.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's stupid because goblins are really upset with humans for not sharing wands with them,
Yeah.
and that's a big deal.
Well, it just means that the Africans' magic would be less directed or weaker potentially, or less predictable. But they can do like rituals and stuff, I guess, theoretically, or like more
Potions.
Yeah, or more because
Potions, charms, fortune telling.
Barty Crouch, not Junior but Senior, talked about how he used to have a magic carpet and how he thought it was a great invention from might have been the Arabic wizards or something like that, or the European wizards. And then after they were made illegal, of course, he got rid of his because he's like super law-abiding guy. But it's weird that they're illegal, but like a broom isn't.
Well, one of my other things...
That is Harry Potter. It's whimsical.
It's whimsical. So
it's funny.
They're
I think it's fine, the African wizards, because it's whimsical. You know,
yeah, flue powder.
Yeah,
is an interesting thing. You can basically travel anywhere with it instantly.
Yeah, where there's a fireplace.
But you also actually have to have a network, and apparently the Americans have a different network than the British.
So you can't just hop
So
across.
you can't use flue power to go to America, and so you have to use either a broomstick or where are those you touch the object and teleport to the location.
Oh, a port key.
The port key.
Yeah. Well, what's also because during the games they also can't use flue. 'Cause I think they said it'd be too crowded if they use flue.
Yeah.
So you have to port key further away. It's basically like you have to park in a stadium.
Well, the flue power is a network.
But it's weird I don't know how much of a network it is because in book 5, when Sirius Black is still a wanted man by the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah.
He is sticking his head into the fireplace and talking to Harry.
Yeah.
In the school.
Well, he was in that school. He managed to set up a private network.
Oh wait, no, they had to go to right. No, that's how it worked. They actually had to go to Dolores Umbridge's fireplace in order to do it because all the others were watched. So you can't put sensors on them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of a counter. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of fun actually how magic, and it's my biggest complaint with Age of Wonders series in general is dispelling and disjunction just cancels out spells.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a better solution would be something like Heroes of Might and Magic, but a bit less so, where if you cast haste on someone, the counter is you cast slow.
Yeah.
Instead of just a blanket like dispel. So in Harry Potter, it's fun how you kind of stack like there's no like dispel. It's more like, well, we have a flue network. Well, I'm going to use the flue network. Well, I'm going to watch the flue network. Well, I'm going to use the unmonitored fireplace. Oh yeah, well, we're going to monitor the unmonitored fireplace. Like it just stacks and stacks and stacks. But I had a dream the other night, 2 nights ago, I think it was, that you and I were playing Age of Wonders 1.
Yeah.
And it was like the Oracle's Eye map, basically.
Yeah.
It was a variant of that where you have all those towers that shoot the giant like beams. And you had cast a spell on my main hero that let you control him on the world map. So you had done an enchantment that let you control him. So you walked him into the range of the towers, and then we're just blasting him with every tower. And when you finished doing that, he hadn't died, and I was kind of like, oh, that's annoying, but now I'm going to cast a spell on my hero, and then I'm going to get him back, and then, you know. But because you had control of the hero, you were also allowed to cast spells with him. And so you were casting all his spell points to destroy all my armies, and then, like, hurt the hero himself. And I got so angry in the dream. I was like, this isn't fun at all. This is stupid. I'm not playing this game anymore. And so there is a level, and Harry Potter brushes up against it a lot, where there's some things that just completely counter everything else. And I think Expelliarmus and Avada Kedavra are both kind of close to that, where it's like, you're almost getting rid of the fun when it's like, let's have a duel. Expelliarmus. Oh, well, there's the duel done. So I think, like, Protego, in the video game, Protego works.
I think Protego stops Expelliarmus.
Yeah. And so that works. And then I assume there's a reason that when, you know, Bellatrix and Sirius are dueling, one of them isn't just disarming the other instantly.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think Harry's actually absurdly good at Expelliarmus, and it's a difficult spell. Also, you get a little piece of string, right? Tie it around the base of your wand, then you tie it around your wrist.
Yeah. No, it would
but I think Expelliarmus would probably untie it.
Or just snap it.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a bit of force involved. Mm-hmm. But when Voldemort and Dumbledore duels...
So here's the thing. Here's another... Like I said, Harry's unusually good, and he's very fast.
Yeah.
So you go Expelliarmus, and they, let's say, cast... Crucio's not a good one, because it's like a channeled spell. What's the thing? Persificus Totalis.
Yeah.
So...
Petrificus.
Yeah, Petrificus. They cast a spell. You cast Expelliarmus. Both spells go off. They don't climb the air, because that is a thing that spells can do. They can hit each other and then deflect.
Yeah.
So You get paralyzed, they get disarmed. They go recover their wand, they have won.
I think there's also a degree of, like, magic in Harry Potter is, like you said, it is kind of a martial art. Like, you're not just reciting an incantation. It's not D&D where you just know the spell and you cast it.
Yeah.
There is skill levels. Like,
Yeah.
you can be better or worse at individual spells.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, like you said, like, Harry is basically Bruce Lee, right? Like, I don't fear the man that has cast 1,000 spells once. I fear the man who has cast the same spell 1,000 times. Like,
Yeah.
Harry is very, very good at a specific martial art. And there is a part, I don't remember what happens exactly, but there is an Expelliarmus, no, it's an Accio that goes off, I think. Or maybe it's an Expelliarmus. And Harry actually, like, just holds really tightly onto, I think it's his cloak, and he, like, to prevent it from getting pulled away.
Yeah.
So there is a degree of, you can possibly, if you expect the Expelliarmus, maybe, like, good wand form is, like, loose grip. You know, like, with a bow, you have a loose grip. But if you just, like, hold on to your bow, your wand.
Yeah, well, like, you hold a lot of characters in the movie, and I think it was good, as they were portrayed holding the wand kind of loosely so they can flip it around.
Yeah.
But if you're gripping it in a fist,
maybe
you can cast Expelliarmus while gripping it in your fist.
Or maybe, like, you hear, because, you know, it's a long word, Expelliarmus. You hear it coming, you just get a grip on.
Yeah.
And then you stop the spell, and then you switch back to a proper spellcasting grip. And
I think also one of the other things to think about with Harry Potter is they have a specific class called Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Yeah.
Which is actually optional.
Yeah.
But that is the only fighting class. All the other spells aren't actually for fighting. It's Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Have you ever thought... I haven't thought about this until now, actually, but... Because the way they portray the class is sort of like a survival class combined with, like, a martial arts class, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually designed not as, like, a interest, but as, like, a... Like, we're fighting a war. Like, it's kind of sad that they have the class in a way. Like, it's a very martial school, actually.
Well, I think that it was slightly adjusted, but the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, when they're younger and is being taught by...
It's like if you had cadets as, like, a class, a core class in school.
Yeah, when Defense Against the Dark Arts was being taught by... what's his face?
Quirrell.
No, the year after Quirrell. Goldrick.
Lockhart. Yeah. Gilderoy.
Yeah, he had the Bogart.
Gilderoy.
Was it him with the Bogart? No, that was
Lupin.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, Defense Against the Dark Arts. Here's a natural occurring creature in the world, a Bogart. It turns into your greatest fear. Here's a specific spell which makes it silly.
Yeah.
That's Defense Against the Arts. With Lockhart, it was these are little pixies. We have a spell to deal with them. I'm going to release them and let them torment the students.
Yeah.
That's his class. And so the younger students are being taught how to deal with things in the natural world. So I feel like there's only so many scenes you can show in the books. But I feel like Defense Against the Dark Arts is, all right, someone has cast an itching curse on your foot.
Yeah.
This is the spell to get rid of the itching curse. Or this is a way to lessen it, like a scratching spell.
Well, I think a lot of it until Mad Eye was based on, like, you know, your equivalent of, okay, when you see a bear, put your hands in the air, say, easy bear, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was a lot of that. Like, I think Quirrell would talk about his dealing with vampires and whatnot, and then Lockhart, of course, with the werewolves and the pixies and everything there, and how to duel in general. And then...
Well, actually, with Lockhart, it was their students are getting paralyzed, so we're starting up the old dueling club again, because someone's obviously attacking students.
Yeah, learn how to defend themselves, basically. Mm-hmm. And then Lupin was a lot more, like, animal-focused. Like, here's this creature, here's this creature, here's this creature. But then Mad Eye was a lot more...
Constant vigilance, although that wasn't Mad Eye, that was...
Barty Crouch Jr. But his thing was a lot more, like, if you are attacked by one of these evil people that is out there, this is what you do. So it was a lot more a self-defense class.
How messed up is it that, like, how you know someone is as their evil doppelganger who's trying to be them?
Well, it's weird because, like, he was such a good disguise it fooled Dumbledore, who knew the guy, right?
Yeah.
So that means that Mad Eye probably would have done the same stuff in the class.
Yeah.
But, so Harry knows the guy because he acted like how he acted, but Mad Eye doesn't know Harry at all.
Yeah.
And so actually, I think an equivalent could actually be YouTubers.
Yeah.
Because you watch a YouTuber for like 10 years, you know the person to a degree.
Yeah.
But they have no clue who you are.
Yeah.
And you only know this facsimile of them as well.
And then if we go to book 5, that was basically Harry was the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Well, Umbridge, like, as her teaching, she was teaching basically laws and regulations, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you should let government authority come in and
Yeah.
that. So her thing was basically, you don't have no need for a handgun, you should call the police. That was basically her sort of thing she was teaching.
And then
She's very, like...
year 6 was Snape.
Yeah. And, I don't know if they did... I don't remember if...
It was also more Harry teaching them. And then he didn't have class in year 7.
Yeah, but that was the Carrows in book 7, and they were teaching kids how to torture each other, basically.
Yeah.
So they weren't teaching Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Yeah, the Defense Against the Dark Arts got darker and darker as the series went on.
They were just teaching dark arts at the end. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember what Snape taught, if anything.
Also, it's weird how the wizarding population is so small that a group of basically insane wizard supremacist fanatics can take over the government and a school. And there's like, what, maybe 100, 200 of them?
Yeah, well, it's also strange that, like, it's just, yep, okay, send them to the school, that's where you torture the people now. Like, isn't there, Arthur and Molly, they're not, like, fighters, right? But you think they would get together with, like everyone... Like, book 5, I think, did it a bit more realistically, that there was a government that had a massive amount of overreach.
Yeah.
But it was still in the realm... Well, I think her point was exactly that, though, because in book 7, Voldemort isn't in charge of the government, I think. I think it's... Because Rufus Scrimgeour was killed.
Yeah.
And then a puppet was put in place. I don't remember what his name was. But he was being, like, totally mind-controlled by someone.
Yeah.
And so it was still the governmental authority that was in charge, theoretically. But the Carrows were, like... known torturers. Like, they were the people that destroyed Neville's parents' minds.
Yeah.
So, like, there's...
Well, also, when Voldemort died, everyone was celebrating. And so you muggles should be happy too. Don't you know he's...
Yeah.
And you have such a menace to society.
Oh,
He can't be dealt with.
I don't know if he was... Because the government was suppressing the fact that he was back, right? So I don't know if by book 7 if that was even revealed at that point.
Yeah, but book 1, everyone's celebrating.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing to think about that it's basically one man and his fanatic followers.
But it does kind of make sense, like, you celebrate that he's dead, right? But then you're afraid of him still. Like, they still wouldn't say his name after he died.
Yeah.
And then when it seems like the government is kind of more backing him, you would be happy if the government stopped doing what it's doing. But you're so afraid that you're not going to go out of your way to actually be the person that stands up and gets your head cut off, right? Because the first person to do that will be in trouble. And the first person to actually fight back against the government, which is, I mean, this is part of why Harry Potter is so great, but the first person to actually fight back against the government was Percy.
Yeah.
When he attacked the Prime Minister, it's just a great scene because Percy is like this government stooge toady for so long.
Yeah.
And then he just decides enough's enough, and during the siege on Hogwarts, and he's like, "Sorry, Mr. Prime Minister," and he takes him down. So that was pretty cool. But you'd think, like, I guess the Order of the Phoenix was basically the gathering of that force. It's kind of the Chinese style of revolution rather than the. Actually, I don't know who would do this. Would that be more Japanese or American, where everyone just revolts together, no matter how small? Or is there anyone that actually does that even?
The British.
British, just like each person is their own island of like, I disagree with this and I will stand for what is right.
Yeah.
I guess the British...
Each man's his own island.
But I think, like, because the Chinese idea of revolution is you still have the revolution, but you gather strength until you can win. Yeah. Which means that you go along with the party line until you are ready to win, which is probably... it's a lot more violent in the end, but it's probably less effective in terms of preventing violence, because you're going to have a huge fight that a lot of innocents die. But the problem with the standing up one individual at a time is you get shot down. Yeah. And so you're basically signing a death warrant. And I think Hitler actually talked about that, where I think it was him that said, all someone has to do is like stand up and shoot me, basically. Like, and so he was like super paranoid. Like he had like his bodyguard was the stormtroopers, right? And there was like 100,000 of them or something. Like he had it. Like what kind of? That's a massive bodyguard. Yeah. And eventually he actually disbanded the stormtroopers because he was afraid of them, and he killed their leader because he's like, this is, or did he kill him or arrest him? Anyways, he got rid of their leader because like, this is way too big of a force. It's too dangerous. And then he had the SS, which was like his better bodyguard that he could trust more.
I find one of the most hilarious bodyguards in history was the Roman Emperor bodyguards.
Well, that's like the opposite of a bodyguard, the Praetorian Guard.
You have to pay them not to murder you.
Yeah. Well, but I also think like...
I saw this is a very funny video where it's these AI images like, who's the best bodyguard in history? It's like, number 1, Praetorian Guard. And then some possibly is like, all right, yeah, it's a very cool image. Very cool, scary Praetorian Guard. Now let me tell you the history of the Praetorian Guard.
How would the Praetorian... They should be at the bottom of any list of bodyguards. I think it was like a 30% like murdering the emperor. I think 30% of emperor deaths were like Praetorian Guard or something.
Yes.
They were awful on that. Although that said, it's easy to judge them for something like... How many deaths did they prevent? It's hard to say, right? Like they could have actually been super elite, very... But I would say probably the best bodyguard... Like, the best historical record I can think of off the top of my head is, of course, the Swiss Guard. Yeah. But I'm sure there's better ones out there. I think
probably the Chinese Royal Guard were actually pretty good.
The, I don't know, the Secret Service, and like the United States Secret Service is actually amazing.
I think they're kind of like the Praetorian Guard.
Like, there's only been, has there been any deaths since the Secret Service was...
JFK?
No, I think they were created after him, weren't they? Like,
nope, they were during him.
Oh, I thought they were created because of him or something.
No, they were during him. They very well might have done him in.
Oh, okay. So that, 1 out of 47, it's not bad. Yeah. Yeah, although they didn't do a great job for Trump initially, but then they stepped up their game a lot, so...
Well, I mean, the one person missed.
And I think both Trump and Obama had a decent number of attacks against them that were stopped way... Because the Secret Service, like, the main thing they do is stop things way before they happen. And against Trump and Obama, they did a pretty good job.
Well, the case with the miss, like the earshot against Trump, is absurd that the person ever got on the roof to shoot at him.
Yeah, no, I think they really failed there. Yeah. And I think Trump was just insanely lucky. Yeah. But, yeah, in general, they've done a pretty good job. Who is...
No, and the thing with JFK is he was shot in the back of the head, and if you look at the situation, like the grassy knoll, everyone talks to us in the grassy knoll. And that's kind of, if you're a fan of ballistics and what's that called, like this sort of CSI?
Oh, forensics?
Yes,
forensics.
Yeah, forensics. You realize that the way he was shot, there's very few people who've done it, and the most likely one is someone in the car with him.
But there was like his wife and like his driver and then like a bodyguard or something.
Yeah,
that's basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've heard,
and his wife was shot too, wasn't she?
No, she was. She was. No, she lived, I think.
Okay.
I've heard some interesting theories, like because there's people that heard more than one gunshot, and so there is actually a theory because it seems basically guaranteed that what's his name, Oswald or whatever, the guy that historically, like the record is that Oswald shot him, right? Yeah. And it seems Lemino did a great video on him where it does seem very likely he did shoot at JFK at the very least, right? But there is a possibility that he wasn't the only person shooting at JFK. That's kind of because there's one theory I've seen. I don't know if it's true, but they think the angle is actually from the front of the car, from inside the sewer or something. Yeah. Because you could shoot up through like the sewer at him, and then like the grassy knoll, of course. But because they heard, I think it was 2 gunshots were heard. Yeah. And they're not sure. You know how hard it is to know what happened in your own life? Yeah. And then you get a witness report of people that were there. Yeah. And they could have heard just the gunshot echoing from the hill to the building back to the hill. Yeah. Or they could have heard 2 separate gunshots, or they could have, like, there's so many possibilities. They could have heard the car backfiring and JFK actually just had hiccups. Like,
one of the fascinating presidential assassinations, this actually might be in the start of the Secret Service, was the first one.
Garfield, I think?
No, Lincoln.
Oh, Lincoln, yeah. Well, like, he was...
Well, so, he was shot by a derringer in the head.
Yeah.
And it didn't kill him. He went into a coma. Mm. And back then, if you went into a coma, you're dead. Yeah. But it was kind of an unthought of thing to happen to a president. He's at a play, and one of the actors just walks up there with a derringer and shoots him.
I don't think it was an actor.
No, it was.
Was it?
Yeah, it was one of the actors in the theater. Oh. Shot him.
Yeah, it was Booth.
John Wilkes Booth was a Confederate. I think.
I think he just didn't like...
Yeah, he really didn't like Lincoln.
Although Lincoln had saved his son's life or something crazy.
No, there's some very insane things about that. But yeah, so Booth shot him, then tried to get away. He was caught. And I think after that, I don't know if they had the Secret Service, but I think they started having bodyguards for them. And then Garfield was killed, I believe.
Yeah. And then Regan was shot at least once, possibly more.
Regan was shot, and Teddy Roosevelt was shot.
And then beat the guy to death.
With his cane.
Yeah.
Because...
I think it was him, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't beat him to death, but...
No, he was stopped by his bodyguard.
Yeah.
His bodyguard actually stopped him from killing the guy.
But Roosevelt, I think, that wasn't the first time being shot as well. Like, not by an assassin, but because I think Roosevelt was a veteran or something.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was that
several...
was shot, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was an old guy that was shot, anyways.
It was Teddy that got shot and beat the guy with his cane.
And then...
What's interesting about Teddy is he was quite injured. And I think he was shot during his rerun election campaign. And so he started campaigning while recovering from being shot in the lung.
Regan, I think we talked about in our previous episode even, how when he was shot, the surgeon was a Democrat, but this Democrat said, like, we're all Republicans tonight, sir. After that, after he recovered, he was given a speech, and a balloon that was up on the stage next to him exploded, like it just popped.
Miss me.
He just said, miss me. Which, very good line. There is a chance, because I always think about this, because there is people out there that are just ruin every good thing in the world. There's a chance that they had, like, one of his staff with a BB. Like, I've never read this anywhere. This is just my own, like, conspiracy brain mind. Shoot it just for the moment. Because you can have these great moments. Have you seen, there's an anime called Joker's Game?
No.
Okay. So I think it was one where I heard it was like, this is one of the most, like, cerebral, like, really intelligent. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. First episode, I was like, okay, this is actually amazing. Second episode was the first episode again, because I don't know why they do that. It's like, I would rather have, like, a bunch of 5-minute episodes than these replays. They're so... Maybe if you watch them as it comes out, it's better.
Maybe.
But the first episode, there's a scene where there's a police officer, and he goes to... he's part of a dormitory at a university of the best spies in Japan. So it takes place during World War II.
Yeah.
Which is really weird as a setting, because you have, like... It's a Japanese story, right?
Yeah.
So you see, like, we're taking over this Chinese city. Woo, we're doing great. And it's like, wow, that's actually... I'm surprised they're talking about this.
Yeah.
But, so the idea is that there's these super spies that are trained to be the best at everything there is. And then they're going to just get seeded through Japanese universities that are just kind of run-of-the-mill whatever universities, so that you don't know that they went through this training. And then they're going to go all around the world. They're going to go to America. They're going to go to the UK. They're going to live a life there for 20 years, and they're going to be...
Sleeper agents?
Sleeper agents, basically, yeah. And so this Japanese police officer is sent to join their group for a while.
Yeah.
And he's like a super cop, basically, but he's like, I believe in the law and everything. And so they ask him, hey, you want to play a game of poker? And he's like, yeah, sure, I like poker. He's like really good at poker. And it's 5-card poker, which I think might be more skill than, like in terms of technical skill, not in terms of bluffing skill, than Texas Hold'em, but I'm not sure.
I don't really understand 5-card poker. You're allowed to put down a certain amount of cards and get cards back.
Yeah.
I think is how it works.
Yeah, so I guess it's a lot more plain odds than plain, like, bluffing in a way. But you're also still bluffing them with your... Anyways, so they play a game of poker. And
I think Texas Hold'em's much better for bluffing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a bit more, like, for watching, it's a bit more interesting, because you're like...
Well, it's a far more popular
Yeah.
Texas Hold'em.
Well, because you can broadcast it, right? Because it's like, you have an idea of what's going on, and you can see... Because everyone has a bit of shared information, whereas in 5-card, you don't have shared information. Yeah. It's just pure bluff.
Yeah.
So, but Texas Hold'em, that information plus bluff makes it a bit more interesting. Anyways, they're playing poker. He starts winning, and then near the end, he just loses completely. And he's like, oh man, guess my luck turned against me. That you guys are good. And he's about to go, and then one of the spies says to him, you didn't lose. We were playing a different game. He's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, we're playing the Joker's game. I'm like, well, what's the Joker's game? He said, I knew what your hand was the whole game because the bartender was signaling to me. And he looks over at the bartender, and the bartender, like, flips his magic. He has, like, a little notebook he's holding, and he flips it, like, 3 times to show, like, I was just showing your numbers by how many times I'd flip my tab, basically, the ledger. And he's like, but then why didn't these guys win? Well, how the Joker games works is nobody knows who's on whose side. Nobody knows what information anyone has. Anyone can be lying at any time. And the goal of the game is to figure out who you can actually trust, what the signals mean, how to develop the signals on the fly, and who is actually your ally, who is pretending to be your ally, who's feeding you real information, who's feeding you fake information, and how to win them over to his side. So then they show a flashback where the bartender was like, "Hey, can I get a light? Can I borrow a cigarette?" And the guy reaches into his pocket and tosses him a whole pack of cigarettes. So then he thinks, okay, we're now allies. Now I just have to figure out what his signals mean, interpret them correctly, and then I'll win. And so he was losing for the first 4 or 5 rounds because he didn't know how to interpret the signals, but then he figures it out. And then the guy's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's geopolitics." And I was like, that is such a perfect encapsulation of geopolitics right there. Like, there's the people you say are your allies, they're the people that are actually your allies. They're the but you're not allowed to say it, so you don't actually know if they're actually your allies. It's all based on implicit signals. There's secret messages that are getting delivered to you, but the actual secret meaning might be one you understand or don't understand, even if they are your ally. And so it's this whole game of cat and mouse. It was really cool how it was done. And what were we talking about before that though? Because it was bodyguards,
and assassinations of presidents.
Yeah, it was tied in there somehow. Anywho.
Yeah, it's just on anime though, the repeating episode.
Yeah.
That is a problem. That definitely is a problem where it's like, oh, this is very cool. Actually, on you saying it being World War II, there's something funny about Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
So do you know when Demon Slayer takes place?
Edo period, like everything else.
No, it's a little bit before World War II.
Oh, wow.
It's 5 years or 2 years or something before World War II.
Jeez. I mean, I guess in the country or something, it's a little...
Yeah, because they have the trains and stuff, but when they go to the cities, there's more advanced technology.
Yeah. So it's a little backwards, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Japan was what do you call that? Industrializing very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just this kind of whoa, that's actually when this is taking place?
Yeah, that's a crazy setting for it. So yeah, going back to Anomander Rake then to just loop back around there. So I think given the the whimsical nature of spells and the untied nature of everything, I think his sword could block the spell, but you were thinking it might shatter the sword. And I think because Harry Potter runs on narrative, and like that dream I had, if you have something that just trumps everything, you don't have a story anymore. It's kind of lame. So I think on the narrative level, which is how Harry Potter kind of operates, I think, you could block it, but it probably does damage or break the sword. Yeah. And I think, and a great, beat by beat, if it was a movie, would be like a chain snapping per block or something could be kind of fun. Like you see him block one and then he blocks another and then all the hounds are loose and and then the whole thing just falls apart. Yeah. And then Draconis is free.
And you can start seeing the cracks throughout the sword itself as they're hitting.
Yeah. We did say we were just both watching and we'll probably do a follow-up of this, but we were watching a much older episode, and we said that if Anomander stabbed the Witch King with his sword would break because any weapon, I don't remember what it is, but it's a blessing the Witch King has essentially, that any weapon that is used on him will turn against their master or something like that. Yes. Yeah. And so we would say Dragnipper would break in that case.
Yeah. No, if you stab the Witch King with what's it called? Glamdring or Ergon's sword.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, they'd also break. There are spells in Lord of the Rings that do what they do, no matter what anything else does.
That said, I wonder in a case like Excalibur. Yeah. Because Excalibur, it's the best sword, right? So I wonder if it would...
Excalibur breaks when he fights Lancelot with it.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So King Arthur fought Lancelot in an honorable duel, and because he used Excalibur, it was dishonorable, and so the sword itself broke.
But if he was fighting the Witch King, that's the most honorable fight you can have, basically, right? And
yes, but I think the Witch King's curse might overpower Excalibur.
Yeah. Is there
so the dagger that he was stabbed with was designed to kill him.
What about...
And so even a weapon designed to... So even though the dagger broke, the forger would not be unhappy. For long years, the dagger was forged and enchanted with spells specifically to fight this one enemy. And that's actually... Games Night, which is a narrative wargame channel, released a video recently, and Sam was up against Shelob. in it. And Sting has this massive bonus against Shelob. And it's like, oh, that's like narratively affecting the movie. But Sting is designed to kill spiders. It was made by Elvin Smiths in a Vale where they had a giant spider problem. And so it's by lucky coincidence that both Bilbo and Frodo had a spider-slaying dagger.
Was Sting actually designed to kill spiders?
Yes.
Or did it become a sword to kill spiders because Bilbo used it?
No, it was designed to kill spiders. So in the Elven Vale, it was forged. An encroachment of Shelob's spawn had gone to that place. And so it was designed to cut through webs of shadow and scour the creatures that made them.
Okay.
And so that's why it was so good at cutting through Shelob's web. Like a normal blade, Sam's magic dagger that's designed for killing wraiths couldn't cut through it. The flaming daggers he had, the flaming brands.
And again, that's that interesting counters versus just dispels, right?
Yeah.
And I actually changed, because I was getting a little sick of it in my first heroes.
Yeah.
I actually changed it so now that my counter, because there used to be a dispel stat essentially.
Yeah.
I got rid of it and I changed it so that the dispel stat is just how much magic you can use in a dispel.
Yeah.
But to dispel something, you have to counter it. So if someone casts a spell that increases your temperature by 1,000 degrees, you have to cast a spell that decreases temperature by 1,000 degrees. However, you're allowed to do it instantly because you're countering the magic simultaneously, essentially. Yeah. So that's how I changed it. And I also made it, you could potentially not be as... Because the interesting outcome of that, you're like, well, it's just thematic and you can't dispel as many spells. But there is actually an interesting outcome, which is if you're a weaker ice wizard than they are a fire wizard, maybe they only hit you with a 50-degree increase instead of a 500-degree increase.
Yeah, so in Dominions, there is 4 different D-spells.
Yeah.
And so one of them is, I think, like a disjunct. One of them's actually D-spell. And then there's elemental opposition. And so how elemental opposition works is you put in gems of the opposite elemental type.
Yeah.
To try to dispel their spell. And it has a better chance of doing it if you put in, like, even if you put in less gems, it has a better chance of doing it. And if you don't dispel spell, you can always weaken it, so next time you cast it, it'll have less gems that you need to do it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a lot more interesting. So in the narrative counter versus counter, Dragnipper was not forged to be indestructible.
Yeah.
Although that said, I would like the adamant sickle of Kronos break if you hit it with, if you like stab the Witch King with it. I think that's an interesting one.
Mm.
Because adamant means I think can't break or can't be cut or something like that.
Well, that's interesting because it's adamant.
Yeah.
However, the Witch King's curse is to destroy weapons.
Yeah. And it is a weapon. Like,
yeah.
Sort of. I mean...
Yeah, so... But my thought there is, if you attack the Witch King without a weapon, does the thing break?
I think it would. I think, like, your arm or whatever.
Well, so the weapons break and then his curse seeps into you and you get poisoned by him.
But I think if you, like, punched him really hard, your arm would shatter from the curse, essentially.
And then his black breath would kill you.
Yeah. I think, true... It's kind of weird, because I kind of imagine just going, like, boing when you, like, hit him with the adamant. Yeah. Now, there is also the tiers to consider. Like, Kronos is a god.
Yes.
And the Witch King is just a very powerful sorcerer.
Yes.
So I think what would actually happen is there would be a massive offpouring of energy as the curse itself was destroyed.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, also, the adamant sickle of Kronos cuts anything.
There's a certain degree of... remember that you are mortal.
Yeah.
Going on there, right? Like, it's like... You know, the...
I do want to add, it's not even that it's made by gods. It's the sickle of Kronos cuts anything, including time.
Yeah.
And so it would shear armor, flesh, and curse all at the same time.
But it's also, like... Even if it doesn't cut through, like, the curse... I think the curse itself would have to fail just because the sickle itself is so indestructible, right?
Now let's go to a book I haven't read.
Yeah.
But if you use Lork's Krill...
Yeah.
Could you cut the Witch King's curse with Lork's Krill? And would cutting his curse destroy Lork's Krill?
I think both might happen. Like, it's a tricky one, because Lork's Krill can cut anything.
Yeah.
Even, like, concepts like death and binding and non-existence and whatnot. But it was, again, Lork is kind of the equivalent to, like, a Saruman-like figure. Like, he was just a very, very powerful wizard, right? So I think the Witch King might actually have... there's kind of an in Chinese literature, there's these ideas of realms. And so there's the mortal realm, and then there's the spirit realm. And basically anything on the mortal realm, no matter how great, has to give way to the spirit realm.
Yeah.
And then above the spirit realm, there's the heavenly realm, or I think it's the immortal realm, possibly.
Yeah.
And anything in the spirit realm has to give way to the immortal realm. And then anything in the immortal realm has to give way to the heavenly realm.
Yeah.
And then anything in the heavenly realm has to give way to the Tao.
Yeah.
And the Tao is just the way of things. So the way of things cannot be defied no matter what. And if you go in defiance of the heavens, they will actually smite you down.
And that's what Monkey King's story is about.
Is actually someone defying the heavens.
It happens twice, actually. The full story of Monkey King is he defies the heavens the first time, and he's in the mortal realm, and he defies the heavenly realm, and he almost wins, however he still fails. Then he goes to the journey of the West,
Yeah.
and he travels with Buddha, or a guy in training. And depending on which story you use, at the end of the story, I think it's in the Korean version, because there's like Korean, Japanese, Chinese versions. At the end of the Korean version, the gods then kill the guy in training, because that is his fate. And so the Monkey King attacks the gods again with his companions, and this revolt against heaven also fails. However, he kills a lot of the gods. And it's because this time, I didn't know about the concept, but I think this time then, the Tao was on the Monkey King's side versus heaven.
So a time when, even though the Monkey King's very powerful, that you see him try to defy the Tao and fail is when he's in Buddha's palm and he tries to jump out. Because Buddha is the representation of the Tao.
Yes.
And so the Monkey King then fails. And it's a really cool concept. Like they can actually be defied, except for the Tao. I don't think you can actually defy the Tao, because that would be... You'd have to basically destroy the universe, I think, to defy the Tao, which would be bad. But I think it's a great way to narratively look at something and say, okay, so clearly the adamant sickle is a godly object, whereas the Witch King is a man. He's a very, very powerful man. The most powerful man ever, probably. But he's still a man. And actually, what do you think? Like, Witch King or Aragon as most powerful man in Middle-earth? Or actually, there's a few more. Baron.
So, actually, Baron's very powerful, but... A lot of people go, oh, the Sauron just has finger cut off and beaten.
Yeah.
But when you actually reflect on what happened there of him picking up his father's sword, is the armies of men were winning in the last battle. Sauron takes the field and pushes the army men back. Then Fingolfin? No, not Fingolfin.
One of the elves?
Gilgalad and Isildur's father, who was something the tall. He's like 6'5" or something.
Yeah.
Wielding the rich Narsil. So,
I hope that HBO does like a lore accurate Lord of the Rings remake, where Legolas is 15 feet tall. And what? Well, he's supposed to be as tall as a young tree, right? So,
so Gilgalad with his spear, which I can't remember his name, but it was long, and
isn't Boromir the tall?
A lot of people are described as the tall.
Okay.
But Gilgalad had a long spear, and then Isildur's father, with Narsil, attack Sauron. And it's an epic battle, in which he does... The movie does a terrible job, I think, because it shows him he just slaps him with a mace and he goes flying. Where in reality, it was those two guys dueling him, and he's taking a load of injuries, and they're getting worn down, and eventually he kills both of them. And then his son, in defiance, tries to stop him, and he breaks the sword, and then he gets his finger cut off. So Sauron was winded. He's like, oh my gosh, I just fought the two most powerful beings that could defy me. So you think I barely won, and then I get my finger cut off by Narsil.
So you think Isildur might be the greatest man ever?
No, Isildur's father.
Isildur's father, okay. Yeah, because I guess the thing was, Aragorn, even against a weakened Sauron, wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
But what about,
But Gilgalad and Isildur's father actually wore him down.
Right, okay, so Isildur's father's the greatest man ever. But Witch King is still... Witch King's up there.
Yes. I think Baron's the greatest man, but...
Yeah, but Baron might be great for different reasons, too. Like, he was just a very brave man, right? Like, Baron is basically...
Well, actually, sorry, not Baron. Baron's grandson, the guy who flew the ship. Or not his grandson, but...
Like the half-elven dude, or...
No, he wasn't a half-elf. But the person who had the helm made of adamant, the armor of chalcedonite, and on his brow emerald.
Yeah. Wasn't that Elrond's brother?
No. Elrond's twin brother was someone else. That's Elrond's father.
I thought it was Elrond's brother that did that.
No, that's Elrond's father.
Okay.
That man.
Yeah.
And he married Baron's granddaughter, I think. But that guy, I think, is the greatest man. Because he went across the impossible sea, find the gods, and then he slayed Celegon.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's up there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Actually, I guess
He fought in the War of Wrath and survived.
although Bard defeated the greatest of the... Well, I guess the greatest of the remaining dragons. And Celegon was probably the greatest dragon ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, when he took to the field, the army of the gods fled.
Yeah, so he's... Okay, so anyways, we've got Witch King, very powerful man.
Yeah.
But Kronos is a titan.
Yes.
And a titanly tier cultivator is always going to defeat the cultivator of the mortal realm.
Well, I think the Witch King might be immortal considering he's a wraith.
Well, he might be on the spirit level.
Yeah, spirit, yeah.
Like, the immortal realm is going to be like the wizards and Sauron, I think.
Yeah.
If you're converting over to Chinese.
Yeah, so he'd be on the spirit realm.
Yeah. And then the heavenly realm would be Melkor and the other gods and whatnot. And then Eru would be the Tao.
Yes.
Yeah, as the sort of equivalent, which is actually a very useful conceptualization. I think like cultivation literature and games and everything, they're becoming more and more popular, and I think it's probably because it's rare, and I hope we see this. I don't know if we'll see it again. This might be the last time in human history, but there's been centuries of development of an understanding of fantasy.
Yeah.
And fantasy itself builds on itself. Like Lord of the Rings was kind of the seminal work that fantasy built upon.
Yeah.
But Chinese fantasy has this whole other system. And so that's now slowly getting merged, I think, with like the Western conception.
Yeah.
And that'll be amazing. But I don't think, because I don't know if Africa has enough cohesion with its narratives to do it. But if they do, that would be really cool. But I think African might be too similar to European. But if they're not, it'd be interesting to see that happen again.
Well, Indian's very just silly.
Well, Indian is very European as well, I would say. Like,
It's kind of European, but kind of not, because India, bigger is better.
I guess the other one that hasn't been fully added is actually like the North American. We were talking about how like grizzly bear is a man, but he's also a bear. Like that dualist idea of existence, like the dual state of existence is not dualistic, but it's...
European is tied to reality.
Yeah.
Indian is like, this man has a bow that shoots arrows that blows up planets.
Yeah. But it's still the same rules as European mythology.
Yes,
like
I guess, and he has 200 heads.
Yeah, but it's still like you have the gods, you have the mortals, you have the demons. It's but Chinese, it's very much like there are realms that you break through into, and like it's a different type of fantasy. Like if you were to make, for example, you could make D&D like a D&D setting in India, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that in China because you'd actually need a different rule system. You would need to say like every 9 levels you break through to the next realm.
And you become level 1.
And you have to, and your understanding isn't through combat, but it's through a deeper understanding of the Tao. And
well, you can achieve the Tao
through combat, yeah.
Yes.
But you would also have to have an understanding of like the flow of yin and yang and the balance of the two.
Yeah.
Like I was reading a cultivator novel where the guy becomes, so yang energy is male energy, it's positive energy, it's like it's strength, and he becomes a being of pure yang, and he almost dies because yang has no staying power. Yang is just motion, and so he turns into like a firework essentially, and then he has to draw in yin on purpose in order to bind himself back to the earth, because you can't just have one or the other, you need both.
Yeah.
And him and his sister are really interesting in that story because they're the most powerful cult, like upcoming. They're still, the book hasn't gotten to the point where they're still in the mortal realm even, but they're the series, I guess you could call it. But they're his sister is like, she has this shaved head. She's this crazy berserker fighter and whatnot. Whereas he works on palm strikes and like disabling attacks. So he has a lot of yin attacks and she has a lot of yang attacks, which means they have that perfect balance, the man with the yin and the woman with the yang. Yeah. So they can become more powerful faster because they keep that balance of their forces. So you couldn't just set a normal D&D setting in there. You'd need like a whole new system, I think.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to do a North American one, the heroes, the way you'd get experience, I think, in a North American setting you'd have to seek out like elders to tell you how to be better. Like you'd level up, like it's actually kind of a cool idea. Like you'd level up if you went and talked to, Raven, and Raven gave you like a lesson, and then you're like, okay, now I know how to hunt, or like it wouldn't be leveling up so much. You don't unlock traits. It'd be like, you met Wolf, you now have snowshoes. You can go through snow at like that's how they do it, which I think would be really fun actually. But I don't know what an African one would look like, or Australian or South American. I don't know if they would have their own, and the cultures might not exist enough anymore to pull it off.
Age of Mythology is coming out with a new DLC.
Yeah.
Which is called the Obsidian Mirror.
Oh, Textulapolka.
Yeah, so the gods are Quetzalcoatl, Smoking Mirror.
Yeah.
The one you just said.
Yeah.
I can't remember the third one.
Is it the hummingbird?
No, I think it's a female goddess.
Okay. Is the jaguar a female? I think she might be.
I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
But I think and it's interesting how it describes each god, and it's called the Obsidian Mirror, which is Smoking Mirror.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how they named the expansion after the god of evil.
Yeah.
And
I mean, what's Quetzalcoatl's title? Like the White God or something? Like.
Well, so Smoking Mirror, they actually describe him as the god of evil.
Yeah.
Trickery, murder, blood.
Yeah.
And then Quetzalcoatl is the god of magic, knowledge, and agriculture.
Yeah, and like he begged his people, please never sacrifice to me any animals, only fruits and vegetables, because he's like this super peaceful god. So.
Yeah, and then he's depicted as this giant feathered serpent, and Smoking Mirror is this man with a mirror.
Yeah.
And then I think it's like a female god. But it's interesting that they've expanded that way, because you can obviously tell that the studio that does it is on the Central South America bent, because they're Forgotten Chieftains.
Yeah.
Had the three...
Well, it's funny because...
South or Central? They're South American tribes. I think.
Yeah. No, because they used to have more central ones, but now they're doing the South ones, yeah.
Yeah. Although I have a problem with it, and it's actually my problem with a lot of recent Age of Empire things. Like, with Age of Mythology, I think it works better. But you have these Champion Warriors. They're the new unit that came out.
Yeah.
And they were the same speed as Eagle Scout, and they were like almost better fighters than Militia with better training time, and they're quite arrow resistant. And I was just thinking, this game's sort of losing some of its touch.
Well, I
because the original game, and even the original Civilizations, the units' powers and abilities to defeat each other and fight encounters make sense. But when you add a new fancy unit, and it's like, okay, we want this civilization to be like this, they're building it from a perspective, we want an archer civilization, and we're going to try to use some historical stuff, but I'm sorry, this Champion Warrior wouldn't be good against gunpowder units. Like, historically, these people were beaten by a guy on a horse.
I forgive you.
Me?
Yeah.
Did I mess up?
No, you said I'm sorry.
Ah.
I'm just forgiving you. It's all right. It's okay that you think that a naked man can't stop a bullet. It's fine. I forgive you. It's a little weird because...
And it's the same with the Chinese. There are three kingdoms, and the Lu Xuan is this unique Chinese warship that throws projectiles, and they destroy castles faster than the cannon galleon, and they beat cannon galleons in a fight. So I get you want to have a cool unit, but I think the cannon galleon actually has to be better, and I think the turtle ship has to be better than this thing.
Well, I think it's what happens when the newest thing becomes the cooler, more powerful thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of YouTube videos where they've been kind of dunking on, to use the kids' words, well, the previous kids' generation words, on Omni-Man, saying like, oh, these guys could all beat Omni-Man because he was the big thing on the block, so now you have to take him down a notch to show how good. It's kind of the Worf effect in a way, but you're just like, he's the big tough guy, so this guy could beat him easily, right? And it's that same mythological sense of the world we were talking about, where you can only compare things to other things.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've been watching this YouTuber recently. He's like a pole dancer archer, and he's actually incredible at...
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay, Blumenek, I think is his name. Like his form is great. His knowledge of
He does like barrel rolls and shoots
Yeah.
an arrow, or he like holds his legs onto a tree branch and shoots.
Yeah, and his knowledge of weapons is
Yeah.
really good. His form is great. And he did a video talking about spears. But anyways, I was watching it and he said like bow spears don't really make sense. But we actually had bow spears up here. They were a real thing. And one of the reasons they might have existed here rather than Europe more commonly is because they used bone on top of the bow spear. And bone is actually possibly a better armor-piercing object than many metals. Now, I don't think it'd be better than steel, but it's better than at least copper and iron. Because that has been tested. The Mythbusters, I think it was, actually tested it. And it's better at piercing armor. So if the Age of Wonders 2 team heard that, they would then say, all right, these guys have bone arrows, so they ignore armor. And it's like, no. That isn't the lesson you should take from that. Like, steel armor is still going to stop bone arrows. It's just, it's better at piercing like leather and stuff.
Like it's a cool unit, and one of the problems is the Three Kingdoms army. These are all mixed almost with mythology.
Yeah.
But they have the Iron Pagodas, which are these insanely powerful knights. And I think they can beat a Frank Paladin one-on-one.
You know, they should...
And I feel like any Chinese civilization metal technology versus a Frank Paladin should not win.
You know what they should do? Actually, this might not actually even be unbalanced necessarily, but they should redo... Is there Persians in Age of...
Yes.
Okay. So they should... Do they have the Immortals?
No, so they've got elephants and a unique kind of paladin now.
Okay. So they should give them Immortals.
Yeah.
Like, replace their Spearmen with Immortals, right? But what happens is, every time you kill an Immortal, the barracks spawns a new Immortal. And they still have to walk into position, right?
Yeah.
But the barracks just spawns a new Immortals. You know, because if they're... With the Chinese one, they combine myth and reality, right?
Yeah.
And so the Immortals is like, we can always get a new guy to replace them. So they should just always... They should do that more often. The Berserkers should heal... Oh, wait.
They do.
Yeah, okay. So they do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they didn't bleed was technically what... But, you know... And
Actually, so on your talk about the arrow thing, Todd Cutler did something very interesting recently with arrows and bows. I know it's your favorite topic.
yeah.
So there's documents that the English longbowmen would cut the fletching from the arrows to make the arrows go further. And
Like, just make it shorter, basically? Or
they would shorten it.
Yeah.
And so Todd's like, okay, well, I'm not very good with a bow, but my crossbow can simulate a bow. So he fired the arrow to see its distance, and he like fired it several times to get consistent at like the ideal angle for longbow range.
Yeah.
So okay, now let's remove these little strings, and the arrows didn't fire as far; they actually fired shorter.
Like with no fletching?
Not without fletching. So there's these strings that you to keep the arrows in place.
On...
So the fletching is so
Oh, like the fletching's tied on.
yeah.
Okay.
So you remove those strings.
Yeah, but the fletching's still on somehow?
It's glued and stringed.
Okay.
And that didn't help. And then he cut them a bit shorter, and they flew a little bit further.
Yeah.
And he cut them a lot short, and it flew even farther. He said, this probably isn't going to work. And he removed all the fletching from the arrows, and fired them, and they went the farthest then.
Yeah. No, that's funny because that's really known among target archers. Like that's not like a controversial thing. If you're testing your arrows, you'll actually take the fletching off in order to test them. The reason fletching exists is because if your form isn't perfect, your arrow will wobble and you'll miss. And so you put the fletching on to stabilize your... So fletching, there's hunting arrow called flu arrows.
Yeah.
They have these giant looping fletching. Like it's big, it looks like a parachute.
Yeah.
And it's for hunting birds because the problem with bird hunting in general is you're going to have your arrow go straight through the bird.
Yeah.
And even if that kills the bird, because you have like a blunt tip, and so it breaks all its ribs, you're still going to never find your arrow because it just went like flying through this bird. So you put the flu arrows on to like have the power of your arrow.
Yeah.
So this is one
Well,
of...
that's an interesting thing you're saying that target archers know that, because this is a recreational historian who's like looking at what the longbowmen would do.
Yeah.
And it's something he's testing because they didn't know the exact range of the longbows, but people always said longbows are really long range. And so basically what would happen is the longbowmen, you would have English longbowmen fighting the French. And the French would go, okay, that's their maximum range because the longbowmen are shooting their arrows. And so they stay out of range to wait to get in position.
And so they'd trim the feathers.
They would trim the feathers and fire further. And they didn't need to be super accurate because you're
an
doing
army.
volley fire.
Yeah.
And you're like firing at a 45-degree angle up. It's actually 36, I think, degree angle up into the air.
So yeah, so I guess what happened in that situation was the longbowmen just understood the arrows, and they're like, okay, they think they're out of range. Let's get a little bit of extra kick on there.
Yeah.
Now the force would probably be pretty low, but still, you know.
The arrow's going up, coming down.
Yeah, but that's neat actually, because that isn't something you'd necessarily think of in a fight. You'd be like, wait a minute, how do I get a bit of extra range? Oh, I know. I'll just like get rid of this drag.
Well, if they remove all of the feathers, it gives them like 20 extra meters or feet or something, which isn't small.
No, it's neat that like my rule of medieval warfare is if you can think of it, they did it, right?
Yeah.
And Blumenek actually he showed an arrow. I hadn't thought of this, but it was so cool. So he showed you can stick a cup on your bowstring, basically, like a little cup, and then you can shoot whatever you want. Like you can shoot sticks, javelins, arrows, whatever. And he showed a kind of arrow. It has a knock in it like normal, but you can shoot it at your enemy. And let's say you miss or it's stuck in their bodies. They're like, okay, I got an arrow now. They pull it out and they shoot it. But the reason you use the cup to shoot this arrow is because in the knock, like the bit where you stick it on the string, is a razor blade. And so he showed I don't know why he's not dead. Like a lot of his videos, I'm like, holy cow, you're putting your life at risk every time you do this. Like to me, he looks like, first of all, he's very fit.
Yeah.
He's very strong. His form's great. His knowledge is great. But he looks kind of like a rich kid who hasn't had any bad accidents yet. Because like he only goes around barefoot, like on everything, right? And I saw a video of him fighting a guy with a maul, like they were doing a bit of HEMA. And the guy had a maul, and he's going around bare feet. I'm like, if that maul slips, you're losing a toe. Like that's just that's crazy. But anyways, so he shot this on his 50-pound warbow. He pulled back a razor blade into his string, and like, he was wearing safety glasses, but like the strings just like lash out, and his whole arm, like you could see the ripple of force go through his arm, and his bow like bent in half. And it's like that's a really good idea for a counter archer weapon. Mm-hmm. You just chuck a couple of razor blades in their knocks when they're not expecting.
Well, I was reading this book. It's kind of terrifying siege where there's a bunch of elves are in a fortress, and they have a small bridge which they're defending, and they're out of supplies. They're running out of arrows. Like whatever wood they can get, they're turning to arrows, and they're firing at their enemies. And their enemies aren't returning fire because whenever they do, the elves desperately recover the arrows. Yeah. So there's the army that's outnumbering them, like, I think it's 20-1. It's just like, yeah, we have our shields. We're just going to wait for you to run out of arrows. We're not returning fire ever. We're just going to kill you immediately.
Yeah, you're better at our arrows anyway.
Well, no, they're both equally good archers. Okay. I think because it's elves versus dark elves.
Right.
But it's just the dark elves outnumber them so much. It's like, yeah, we'll grind you to death with swords because
you can only have
you're in a 4-5 position with a small bridge.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Like ammo concerns, it's really I wonder if there's any war games it doesn't really matter battle to battle. It's more a campaign, I guess, where it would matter.
Yeah, it's actually fundamental. I think one of the most interesting scenes in that book is there is an undead creature called not Marco. Basically, it's Marco is his name. And his name was Marco, then he's resurrected, and he's this white. And the greatest of the elves fights him in combat. And Marco defeats him, but he gets his head cut off. So the greatest of the elves cuts off Marco's head as Marco hits him in the chest. And then they're all cheering, but they're sad that the greatest of the elves went down. Then Marco reaches down, picks up his head, and he's holding it by the hair. And he starts walking towards the rest of the elves. And this human fighter is standing before him. And he tries to attack Marco and just knocks him aside. And then it can't be bothered with him as it's crossing the bridge. He's just a human. He's worthless. So the human gets up and he picks up his sword again. And he swings at it again. And it deflects his shot. And like turns his head to look at while it does it. And then he swings his sword and cuts off the hair that's holding the head by. And it's an expert fighter.
Yeah.
But it's never had to stop someone cutting the hair that's holding off. So the head hits the ground. And the human fighter kicks the head off the bridge they're standing on, goes tumbling away, and then the corpse just starts flailing, and he grabs the spear, and he pushes it off the bridge. What I really like about that scene is you're a relevant fighter, and there's no way in a proper fight that this human could beat the undead.
Yeah.
However, he still doesn't, because he's so insignificant to it. And so it kind of goes against, the spirit, earth, heaven.
Yeah. No, I think like you can push it, right? Like you can push it in the book.
Well, I think it's literally that Marco is on the spirit level.
Yeah.
However, he's not divine, he's not Tao. And so hubris actually defeated him.
Yeah, you can still fall to hubris. But I think, like, when you're looking at a mortal versus a god, like, or not even a god, but a titan like Kronos, then the tier, like, Kronos is basically a force of nature, right? Like, so you're defying something that's so far above you. Like, Zeus is a hero for being able to fight the titans, and he's a god. Like,
well, so I actually wanted to ask you about this, is the gods' war against the titans. And it's often described that Zeus defeated the titans with his lightning bolts, or thunderbolts. And his thunderbolts are annihilation. And so, is it that because sometimes described that all the gods fought all the titans, but kind of my understanding of Zeus is you really just need Zeus with his lightning bolts to beat the titans, so you don't need the other gods.
I think it probably depends on the telling to some degree. But, because I don't know what the, I haven't actually read the Titan Marquee, is that what it's called?
Okay.
So I'm not sure, but because in some versions that I know of anyways, like versions as in I've read like in that book, The Complete Collection of Greek Myths or whatever, which is a lie of a title, but they talk about like there was the war of the gods versus the titans that Zeus led and eventually won. Yeah. And that's the story there, basically. But then in the Secret Teachings of All Ages, they talk about more how Zeus is not just a powerful being in the world, but actually the being with dominion over the earth. Like, he's on the demiurgus or, like, higher level versus living within that realm. Yeah. Because how a lot of ancient sources conceptualize Earth was sort of a sphere unto itself, and all the gods were inside the sphere, and then there was also a greater god outside the sphere. So Lord of the Rings would be the best example, where you have Manwë and Morgoth and all those guys. Yeah. They would be inside the sphere, and then Eru is outside the sphere, and so Zeus is that outer figure a lot of the time. So I think in that sense, when he has the power of annihilation, it is him that is just doing it. But
well, I think Odin and the Norse gods are interesting as well in that sphere, because I feel like a mortal warrior could kill a Norse god. Yeah. Well, I think
this is going to be a weird take. I haven't heard this anywhere. It's just in my head now. Yeah. The Norse gods, especially Odin, are basically the closest the West has to the Chinese cultivators. Like, because Odin is basically a mortal who through endless success and achievement and refinement of self became a god, right? Like, he drank from the well of wisdom, he gained knowledge on the tree,
I hate modern fiction of Norse mythology where Odin's always the villain. And he's like this trickster wizard, like sniveling sneak who's trying to get as much knowledge as he can.
Well, that's what I was going to say, actually. It's interesting because when I was growing up, and I think a little bit most mythology was either European or Greek. Yeah. And even Greek was a little rarer, I'd say. Yeah. But then Greek became more popular.
Rick Riordan.
Yeah, like Rick Riordan made Greek mythology very popular. And then Norse slowly seeped in. Yeah. And I think Rick Riordan, again, actually did a lot for Norse mythology. But
never read those books.
But Norse mythology is... I haven't either.
He also did the Egyptian ones, which were good, actually.
Well, I think Egyptian actually might have been before Norse, come to think of it. I think Egyptian wasn't very popular either, and then it became more popular.
A little more popular. It didn't have the holding power of Norse, though.
Yeah. And then I think Norse as well became more popular. Like, nowadays, I would say people, they might know, like, you know, a Balder or a Heimdall or a Tyr or a Thor a lot more than they'd know, like, a Nut or a Bast or Isis or Ra or what is the difference between Ammon-Ra and I can't even...
Or Set versus Sith.
Yeah, or Osiris. Like, I don't think those guys are as popular. Yeah. Even in my conceptualization.
Well, it's also like, Set's the main villain of Egyptian mythology. No, he's your evil uncle. Yeah. The main villain is Chaos, the snake.
Yeah, what's its name? Apep or something.
Yeah, Apep. Yeah. Or Rachi, basically. Yeah. Or, what's the one that's
Tiamat in
it's
Sumerian?
Yeah, Tiamat from Sumerian.
Or what's in Gilgamesh? It's that eldritch horror creature. I forget its name. But yeah, all those things. So I think
it is interesting that the main villain though of the Egyptian one is Orochi.
Well, it tends to be a snake, right?
Well, it's the serpent of chaos, yeah, and snakes
Yeah.
are bad. The Bible.
Yeah. No, it's often the snake is the being of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the aspects that... I don't know if Japanese mythology does this, but I know that Greco-Egyptian mythology did this, and I think it's a really important thing to remember. And I don't think the Sumerians... I'm not sure. But when Hermes Thoth killed Apep, or the Serpent of Chaos or whatever,
Yeah.
he took from it and made a crown. Like, he took it, the power of chaos, and forged, like... wisdom from it, basically, right?
But doesn't also his scepter have two snakes going up it?
Yeah, but it's the same idea. It's just like you take the chaos and you build from it a greater order, right?
Yeah. And when Tiamat was killed, they used her body to make civilization or something.
And actually, in Norse mythology, when the ice giant died, his body formed the world, basically. So they have a bit of that there. But I think it's not just like Orochi's bad. If we didn't have Orochi, the world would be a better place. It's like chaos. Because I think evil and chaos shouldn't be conflated entirely. No. Chaos is very dangerous, but it is the stuff of potential.
Yeah.
It's like in The Keys to the Kingdom. Nothing is what Tuesday makes his greatest works from.
Yeah.
Like, Tuesday is essentially, in that mythology, quotation marks, the god of creation. And the form from which he forges everything is nothing. Like and nothing is essentially a corrosive substance that is devouring the universe.
Yeah.
But he uses it to build all his greatest works. And so obviously Garth Nix understands the unimyth.
Yeah. I don't know if he understands it, or it's just so true he writes it.
Yeah, well, I think that is a kind of understanding, right?